Welcome to On the Corner of Main Street, presented by Plaza Hotel and Casino in downtown Las Vegas. Here is Plaza CEO Jonathan Jossel, Gary Vickery, and I'm your host, Lisa Melmed. Welcome to On the Corner of Main Street. Hi, Jonathan. How's it going?
Great, Lise. Good to be here. We have a little special, different take on today. We're joined here by, used to be a podcast guest, but today he's more of a host with us, the one and only Oscar Goodman. And he's here because I wanted to get this message out, Oscar. I'll let you talk about it, but you have an office here now.
I do. It's a great office.
Right behind the bar.
It's the best.
And now what we're going to get into, our guest today is Chef Ben, as I call him. And we're very proud of, I guess why we wanted you here was we're talking about Oscars and the chef and the fact that we're very proud of Oscars coming up on its almost 10th year anniversary.
Amazing.
And the great partnership that we've had. And it's something that we talked about before, but the idea is that we actually own Oscars here at the Plaza. Many people have a belief in outsourcing their restaurants, leasing it. We take a different approach now in that we like to own and operate the restaurant.
Why is that?
Well, I think, when I first came out here, there was more of a history of leasing out the restaurants here at the Plaza. And then over time, as I've learned, there's sort of two schools of thought I saw from the Strip, which was the Sheldon Adelson model, which is you lease out all your F&B to the experts, let them manage it, let them run it. Or the Steve Wynn model, which is you control the experience, you operate everything yourself, and you keep it yourself. And both of them make good sense to me. But as I've been spending more and more time here and learning the industry, I think owning and operating makes sense. But you have to have a great team. You have to have a great chef. You have to have great partners like yourself, Oscar. And so today we're talking about our chef.
I think it makes sense. When you have pride of ownership, you go to a level different than if you're letting somebody else come into your facility and manage it. It doesn't have the same love and affection, as silly as that may sound. The folks who work here, the wait staff, the bartenders, it's almost like a family. And then the chef comes up with recipes that are second to none. And people who are in the restaurant business have been calling me. They want to know how he does it. Mm. And Jonathan is very protective. He's not going to let the secrets get out of here. They're going to be they're going to be the Plaza's secrets. And you have to come to the Plaza if you want to have this great food. It's that simple.
Exactly. Well, welcome Chef Ben Jenkins to the On the Corner of Main Street podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Ben. I know how much you love podcasts. It's great to have you here.
Ben, just tell us a little bit where you're from and how you arrived at the Plaza.
I grew up in North Carolina. I started cooking when I was really young, around the house with mom and dad, and then, worked my way into restaurants, working through high school, and then made my way out west when Bellagio opened. Started working for Michael Mina when the Bellagio opened and was with Michael for the better part of 20 years.
That was in 1999.
In 1998 when
Wow.
that opened,
Okay.
yeah.
You moved out here.
October 98, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were just 21?
And I was
Ben?
just 21, yeah.
Living the dream?
Living the dream in Las Vegas. So worked on and off with Michael for the better part of 20 years, like I said. Moved to San Francisco, bounced around opening restaurants for him. Spent some time in Hawaii, and then Ryan contacted me about, we mentioned Ryan previously.
Our director of food and beverage here at the Plaza, Ryan Rowland.
So where did you learn to be so talented, though? Because you've just jumped 20 years, which is great, to how you got at the Plaza, but you obviously have this skill set. Was it all from Michael Mina and the specific restaurants?
A lot of it was growing up in kitchens and working through high school in kitchens. I ended up going to school in Vermont at New England Culinary Institute in Montpelier, Vermont. Worked a little bit in Florida and then made my way out west. So, it's kind of been in my blood since I was young.
And Michael Mina, weren't you at a steakhouse with him?
Yeah, well, I started at Aqua, which was predominantly a seafood restaurant. That was at Bellagio, and it's now called Michael Mina. Yeah, and then we opened Strip Steak at Mandalay Bay, which is what his first steakhouse concept.
Oscar's got his. What is that? That's not a martini.
Yeah, it is. It's just not in a martini glass, and it holds more gin than the other glass. So I'm happier with this, to be honest with you, Jonathan.
It's a little late for you to start drinking. I'm disappointed.
Well, I haven't stopped.
Oh, you've been going. Good.
Cheers.
So you must have really liked what you saw when you came down to Oscars in the Plaza to give up that lifestyle in Hawaii.
When I came back, it was a completely different feel than it was before I left. So you got Esther's Kitchen and these restaurants and, cool bars and cool places to hang out. It was a whole new life brought into downtown, and that's really, meeting with you guys, meeting with you and Oscar and Ryan, and talking about the vision. It's really what brought me back.
Yeah, and credit to Ryan. He's done a great job of building an F&B team here and convincing guys like yourselves to join us. And I think that was important to me. Oscar, don't take this the wrong way, but we've been here 10 years, and I think Oscar's has always done well, and it's always been a great concept. But I think when we opened, we maybe didn't put the food at the top of the priority list. We put more of the fun. Broads. Yes. Beef, brews, and broads was our sort of tagline. I think Ryan and Ben have elevated that the dining experience way beyond what we started out with.
There's no question about it, but he's a great chef, and Ryan knows what the people like. So between the two of them, they're able to present a product that you can't say no to. And it's amazing with all of the things that have happened that Ben talked about, with the new hotels and the energy that's down here on Main Street and the Arts District and Fremont Street East. All those things only help us, because that's the new Las Vegas, and what we represent here is the quality of the old Las Vegas.
Exactly.
And when we give that warmth and that charm to our customers, they keep on coming back. And I think basically we probably have more locals coming to Oscars than we have visitors or tourists or conventioneers, because they just love the Las Vegas experience, and that's what we give them here with great food.
Mm-hmm.
Ben, how did you put your own personal touch on Oscars?
Besides for the best burger in the history of the world.
Oh, by the way,
yeah,
that's true.
I know. Did you just realize?
No, it's the most amazing thing in the world. My wife is the mayor, and she said, let's go up to Oscars, and we ordered. She always has the same thing. She has ice cream. Your chocolate ice cream, Ben, is outstanding. But I always have my steak, and on the way out, I think Ben said, we have this great hamburger. Jonathan had tried it the night before, and he says it's phenomenal. Why don't you take it home? Well, what a cold hamburger, it's horrible. This hamburger we ate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was the best damn hamburger I've ever had in my life. To call it a hamburger is an insult. This was a piece of meat in a terrific roll with dressing. This was unbelievable. As a matter of fact, if it only cost more, I would order it.
Great feedback, Ben. So what do you think? How did you put your spin on this restaurant?
Well, I think really, bringing the team together, I feel like, what Ryan and I have done collectively is create that restaurant family that you mentioned before, giving the cooks a sense of ownership with what they're doing, bringing in some elevated techniques and just really refining what these guys already knew and kind of bringing them, ahead and up to speed on quality and pride and ownership.
I think you've added a lot of good fish product that we never had.
Yeah, well, obviously sourcing great products, working with vendors, working with farmers and purveyors on finding the best possible product.
And that's something that's very important.
Yeah, of course. It kind of comes second nature to me, so I don't really think about it. Creating those relationships and establishing those those trust systems with your vendors and your purveyors and your farmers to know that you're going to get great products.
So I had drinks with some guys in here Saturday night, and they said the oysters were the best they ever had, that they kept ordering more and more and more.
We sold so
many
oysters
Saturday. And then I came back
Saturday.
Saturday night for dinner with some other people,
Mm-hmm.
and they ordered oysters, and we were sold out. We ran out of oysters. These guys must have eaten all our oysters.
We went through like 10 bushels of oysters last weekend.
Who shucks them?
We've got an army back there.
Okay.
We've got an army of shuckers.
Oyster shuckers.
One of the customers complained about a finger.
Absolutely.
What are you talking about?
It is oyster.
Okay. Ben, for the people out there, give us context. Where do you like to eat when you're not at Oscars?
When I'm not at Oscar, on the Strip, I would say Carbone's my favorite restaurant.
Great choice.
Off the Strip, Carbone's probably my favorite restaurant. So, no, I like downtown. I really like Esther's.
Yeah.
Esther's Kitchen. You can't go wrong there.
Carbone is incredible.
Carbone is incredible. Yeah,
I just heard yesterday that I didn't know this. They have one in Miami, and might become the highest grossing restaurant in the world, given how busy Miami is at the moment.
It could be.
I heard
some
numbers there that are mind blowing. So I really appreciate, Ben, you sharing some of your story with us. What we wanted to actually talk about today was the dinner series, and how that came to be, Oscar. And I don't know if you recall this, but I think maybe 3 or 4 years into our deal, we wanted to figure out how we could better convey who you were to the people that come here and the experience. And what we came up with was the dinner series, which is about every couple of months, we get a group of about 100 people together. Used to be in the speakeasy, now we're doing it in the main dining room for social distancing. And you tell short stories about your life and your history. And Ben creates the finest menu. Do you want to share anything about how you come up with that menu, like the last one, or?
Well, the last one was based on the movie Casino, the 25th anniversary of Casino, and Oscar and his wife Carolyn had the Casino cast at their house for dinner when they were filming the restaurant, correct? So we kind of loosely based the menu around what she had cooked for these guys 25 years ago. So
One of the great meals of all time in the restaurant. We have had 2 extraordinary experiences here as far as meals are concerned. I think the Casino dinner was outstanding, and then there was a client that I represented who was the head of the Kansas City outfit, or the mob, or whatever you want to call it, who loved to come into town. Larry Ruvo, who was a very substantial business person in the community here. His parents, they owned a place called the Venetian. It was basically a pizza joint, but they had very, very good Italian food, very homemade type of product. And this fella would come into town, and the sheriff, who was a good sheriff, but he was a tough guy, he would meet this client of mine at the airport and tell him to go home and put him back on the plane back to Kansas City. And finally, I threatened a lawsuit, and they said, okay, we resolved it, and he was able to come here. And the reason he wanted to come to the restaurant was to have neck bones, which I don't eat them myself, but apparently it's a delicacy. So in honor of Larry's mother, who was the chef in those days, we had a terrific dinner here.
So
outstanding.
I appreciate you sharing this story. The bad news is it's evident that you don't listen to the podcast, because we had Larry Ruvo on where we talked about this dinner and the neck bones.
I wouldn't listen to Larry Ruvo if he's the last guy in the world.
He was very nice about you.
Oh, forget about him, will you please?
But that was a memorable night. And
it really was.
Next week, we have our next dinner series. You'll be talking about
The Mob.
The Mob.
The Mob and me.
What a surprise.
It's going to be, it's going to be interesting, because I'm going to take it for as long as the dinner series is going to go on. I'm going to be telling stories about the mobsters and my experience with them, and the way the government looked at me and looked at them. And it will be an insider's view as to how I spent 40 years of my life representing the supposed bad guys, who in my opinion were the good guys, compared to the FBI, who I felt were the bad guys. So it should be a lot of fun.
And Ben, what do we have on the menu next week? Do you know? No, we doing pea soup again?
No, we're not.
We're doing pea soup on the menu. It better be the best pea soup in the world.
I wouldn't eat pea soup. Forget about pea soup.
What are we doing?
You didn't like the pea soup?
I loved it. I loved it. Somebody said,
it.
if you put pea soup on the menu, if the chef's going to have the guts to put pea soup on the menu, you know that chef knows how to make good pea soup. It was excellent.
Oh, good.
It was the best pea soup I ever had.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we've got an onion soup this time. Spring onion soup, wedge salad, and then the choice of fish or steak. So a filet or a Mediterranean sea bass.
Oh, well, you know everyone's going to order the rib cap. Even if you don't put it on the menu.
Well,
it was so good last time.
That is absolutely true.
The rib cap is life-changing.
It is, right?
Made me a steak lover.
That's what they said.
I might start not promoting our burger as much as I used to and switch to the rib cap, because everyone's talking about the Oscars rib cap.
There's no question about it. I mean, people are wild over it. I never heard of the particular cut of meat, but it must be the prime of the prime. Everybody's talking about it.
Let me ask you a question, Ben, before we move on. How do you feel when a customer in the restaurant makes substitutions?
We're here to give the guest what they want.
You're not a chef that says, "Damn, this guy,
no, we're
eat
here.
the way
We're
I
here
make
to.
the food."
Yeah, no. It's not. Who am I to say what you like? You know.
Right.
And we're here to give you an experience.
Beautiful.
So we want to create the best experience possible.
Well, thank you so much, Ben, for joining us on the corner of Main Street. You can stay up to date with Ben at Ben Jenkins LV or at Oscar Steakhouse LV. So now, as promised, let's jump into some clips from the last Oscars dinner series.
Thank you all. Thank you all for joining us. If you love Oscar's speeches, now, starting tonight, this will become a podcast. Without further ado, here is Oscar Goodman.
Thank you. Thank you, Johnny. I have no idea what a podcast is.
Oscar, you know what a podcast is.
To me, I think it has something to do with a P. Wasn't there something about peas in a pod?
Maybe
a broken pea.
Maybe that's where it came from.
A podcast of a pea.
But anyway, that was me just announcing that we would be now recording these very, very iconic dinner series where your stories hopefully can live forever through not just this podcast, but in other ways. But it was an opportunity for us now that we have this podcast, an outlet to share these stories from these famous dinners. Or you can buy a ticket, including dinner and the speech, on our website and come and hear them in person.
You know, it's a funny thing, Jonathan. The truth of the matter is it's tremendous value because the dinner in and of itself, the way we serve it here at Oscars, is extraordinary. First of all, you get the best piece of meat or the best fish that money could buy with accompaniments of great hors d'oeuvres and salads and soups, and you also get as much as you could drink of Bombay Sapphire gin martinis and as much wine as a human being could hold. We should be charging $50,000.
It is great value.
And an intimate evening with you telling your amazing stories.
I understand, but that's secondary. I mean, the fact is the food and the drink is just extraordinary. Now, you pick up basically my little speeches, and I represented Mike Tyson, in the case where the ear was bitten off Evander Holyfield. And Tyson has a little show that he puts on, and people come just to listen to his stories. And
his one-man show, yeah.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is my stories are a lot better.
I agree. Well, and I got to tell, we didn't do this for like 14 months, and the one we did was in March 2020. I think it was March 7th, I think. We had Mark Davis here. We had a great turnout. And it was sort of like the farewell, because a week later we were all put into lockdown. And what's interesting is it took us about 14 months to come back, but the energy and the excitement at the dinner, and everyone was so happy to be out and to be with you and the mayor, and it was a wonderful night.
It was a great night. Everybody was happy. They couldn't wait to get that chain off that's been around their throat for over a year now. They felt free. They felt healthy, and it was a great night. It really was. This room was alive, and that's what you've been trying to accomplish as the CEO of the Plaza. You have wanted to get the vibe. That's the word that you use all the time.
Yep.
You want the vibe to be there, and boy, it was there that night. Everybody.
I agree.
The great part about it is the audience, those who eat and see and talk, they come from all different kinds of backgrounds. We had casino executives here. We had gaming experts
We had
here.
Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top here.
I had no idea. I knew what ZZ Top was. I had heard of it. But Billy Gibbons, I had no idea. He scared me when I saw him, to be honest. I thought the guy who was standing there on Fremont Street came up here without a ticket. But
Listen, the food tastes better when there's a good vibe. I truly believe that.
I think that the people loved it. I think that they would come back every night if they could have that experience repeated. I really believe that.
So you are talking about when you filmed the movie Casino, and let's dive into the part where you explain how you got the part.
I said to myself, I've done everything that a lawyer could do, alpha to omega, and I'm not liking myself anymore, because the only reason I'm going down to the office in the morning is to see how much I could charge. And that wasn't me. And it bothered me greatly. And then a horrible event took place in my life where Tony Spilaccio was murdered. And I didn't realize how much time, that's the character that was portrayed by Joe Pesci in the movie Casino. And I had no idea how much time in my life was devoted to him. Every morning I woke up, there was a search and seizure, there was a motion, there was a trial, there was a deposition, something was happening. And when he was gone, it left a terrific void. And I began to fill that in by representing Frank Rosenthal, who was portrayed by De Niro in the movie Casino, and all the Black Book cases that he had. And basically, it was interesting. I was the only person who won a Black Book case, but the Supreme Court of the state of Nevada ultimately reversed that years later, and Rosenthal was barred from entering the casino. He couldn't even come onto the property here under the Black Book law if he had to go to the bathroom. They wouldn't allow him onto the property. That's how stupid the law was, because they didn't realize that a telephone is a much more deadly weapon than a person's presence on a property. But nobody ever gave the gaming authorities any A grades for being smart around this town. So that's what I was fighting, and I said to myself, I've done everything. I want to do something different. But nothing was happening different in my life until I got a phone call one day, and that's the reason for our dinner tonight. I got a phone call from the casting director of Casino, and they said, Mr. Goodman, would you like to be in the movie? I didn't care whether the movie was Looney Tunes. I would have said yes. I would have said yes to any movie in the world, but it happened to be Casino. I had no idea what it was, and I said I sure would. And they told me that I would have to be on the set over the Christmas holiday. And I said, I can't do that. I promised my family I was going to take them to Hawaii. They said, don't worry about that. If you promise us you'll come back and you'll be part of the set and participate, we'll pay you from the time of this phone call until we finish our shooting of the movie. I said, you got a deal there. And I said I would do that, and I went and took Carolyn and the children over to Hawaii, and I got a phone call after we had a pleasant vacation there, and they said, we need you back in Las Vegas. So I came back, and the first place that I had to go to was the wardrobe department. And I went in there, and it was a miracle. I saw this little fella with a crooked arm holding a briefcase, and I said, my God, deja vu all over again. That's Tony Spilotro. And it wasn't. It was Joe Pesci. And he looked exactly like Spilotro did. And I said, what am I supposed to do? And they said, here's your part. And they gave me a little card. They said, all you have to do is memorize this. I said, I got a big problem. Ever since I've been a youngster, I can't memorize. They said, what do you mean you can't memorize? I said, I can't memorize. I had every Jewish kid in Philadelphia had a parent who made them take piano lessons. And I had piano lessons, and of course, after you take the lessons, they have to give you a recital. And my mother and father invited all the relatives there for my piano recital, and it was a Bela Bartok piece. It was cacophonous. Unless you memorized every single note, it made no sense at all to play it. And of course, I couldn't do that. And I ran out in the street after I really fouled up and tried to get hit by a truck. And the truck, I'm not sure whether it was fortunate enough at the time, missed me. But my mother, for the first time in my life, beat the living daylights out of me. And I said, why? Because the truck missed me? She says, no, because you're a schmuck. So that stayed with me my whole life. And I had that the experience of not being able to memorize. And I said, may I see the director? And they said, Mr. Scorsese? I said, yes, I have to talk to Mr. Scorsese. I said, Mr. Scorsese, I got a big problem. I said, I can't memorize. He said, don't worry about it. You'll be able to memorize this. It's just one line at a time. Don't worry about it. You have all these people around you to help you. Mr. De Niro's going to help you. Joe Pesci's going to help you. Sharon Stone's going to help you. I couldn't memorize one line. A scene that should have taken 15 minutes took 3 days of filming because of my ineptitude. And I ask you all, when you see Casino next time on TV, and by the way, every time you watch it, I make 13 cents, so please watch it often. And it's a great thing because I see myself doing things because Scorsese said, do it as you would in real life. And I saw myself doing things, and nobody else had an idea of what the cue was. When I was standing up, they were sitting down. When I was looking right, they were looking left. I mean, the whole thing was botched, but unless somebody told you, like myself, you would have never known this. And finally, and Scorsese was a great director. Unbelievable. He did each scene 100 times. I mean, he did it backwards, sideways, upside down, downside up, all over the place. He was a perfectionist, And I loved it. I loved the whole experience. And for me to tell you anything less than that, I'd be a liar. I love being with Sharon Stone. She was a beautiful lady and so kind to me. I love being with Robert De Niro. He was so understanding. It was the greatest. Pesci is Pesci.
So Carolyn decided to host a dinner for all of the actors.
Yeah, she felt sorry because they were out of town.
Carolyn said to me, "What do these actors do when they're not on the set?" I said, "I have no idea. They're staying at the Treasure Island." So she said, "Wouldn't it be nice if we had them over for dinner?" We said we're going to have a party at our home, and we invited all of the principals to come there for Carolyn's dinner, and she was cooking a beautiful dinner. And then we got a phone call from my next-door neighbor, Steve Wynn. "I want to come." I said, "Excuse me?" He says, "I want to come to your party." I said, "You got that right, Steve. It's my party. You're not coming." He says, "I have to come. I love these people. Please have me." I said, "No way. Forget about it." So being the man that he is, Steve went to Elaine and had Elaine call Carolyn and said, "Please let my husband come to your stinking party. This guy is driving me nuts." So Carolyn says, "Surely he could come." So Steve and Elaine joined all these people, and one of the great, first of all, the Italians, and I have a lot of Italian friends who are here tonight, many of whom came up from Phoenix and the like, and they call it pot roast. Carolyn called it brisket. And most of the people who were at the house were calling it pot roast. They said the pot roast is delicious, and they had a great time, and everybody ate an awful lot of food. And then imagine this. This is the highlight, I think, of my life. I'm not sure. I think it's the highlight of my life. I'm looking over after dinner, because Carolyn, as you know, as the mayor, doesn't let anybody do anything other than herself. Wasn't that funny? She has to do everything herself, and doesn't have any help when she does things. And she's doing the dishes. And, we're not poor, so no big deal that a woman who has pride in her home wants to do the dishes. That's not a big deal. But Sharon Stone is next to her doing the dishes, and Sharon's worth, I guess, $500 million? I think that was the latest count. And she's right in line with Carolyn doing the dishes. And then Elaine Wynn, who's worth $1 billion, doing the dishes. Now, if you can imagine those three ladies doing the dishes after a pot roast or a brisket at the Goodman house, then you have the whole idea in mind. And it was great, and they were all lovely. Pesci even thanked. He was the only guy who there wasn't an ashtray in the house. He's the only one who smoked cigars. But he brought his wife. What was her name, Dennis? Marty. Marty was there, and they were all there. They had a great time, and they wrote beautiful letters and sent flowers, and it was a great, great evening.
Then all the actors and the crew left, and they left behind a very impatient Oscar Goodman.
I had to get into more movies, and I figured that the only way I'd ever get into another movie is if I would be able to insist that for somebody to get a permit to make a movie, I'm doing the best I can, to make a movie in Las Vegas, they would have to give me a part. So I get sworn in, and instead of going to the 10th floor of City Hall, I went to floor 2, and I said, "Ma'am, the permitting department," I said, I'm your new mayor." She said, "Nice meeting you, sir. What can I do for you?" I said, "Well, I have a directive for you." I don't think they ever gave directives in City Hall before. And I said, I'm happy to give you my directive. She says, "What is it?" I said that if anybody wants to make a movie in Las Vegas, they have to give me a part. She said, "You can't do that." I said, "I can. I'm the mayor." Well, 2 weeks go by, and my receptionist says, "Mayor, guess who's out here?" I said, "Who's there?" She said, "Jackie Chan, and Brett Ratner. I said, what do they want? Well, they want to make Rush Hour 2, and they're telling them that they can't get a permit unless you have a part. And I said, absolutely correct. Send these people in. So in comes Chan, in comes Ratner, and they said, I cannot believe what we just heard. That for us to get a permit to make Rush Hour 2, you have to have a part? I said, absolutely. Well, the part was the greatest part in the history of the world. It was at the Desert Inn, and those of us around here remember the Desert Inn before it was imploded. They made it into a flocked, wallpaper-type casino, and I was in a great scene with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker and Alan King, and it was a great, great part, and the movie came out, Cutting Room Floor. I said, all right. I said, get Chan on the phone. And I called Chan, and he said, what can I do for you, Mayor? I said, don't call me Mayor. I don't want you to think of me as the mayor. Do you know what I did before I was the mayor? I represented mobsters. And they would never let me be hurt. And you guys hurt me. You put me on the cutting room floor. Well, I scared them so much, I am in the DVD. Next, this is the greatest. I'm in the Ocean's 11, the sequel. Great scene, Steven Soderbergh on the camera at the MGM with Danny Gans, Wayne Newton, Siegfried and Roy, Angie Dickinson. Wonderful scene, cutting room floor. Okay, that did it. I went to our city attorney and I said, you know, a fraud is being perpetrated on the city of Las Vegas. They say they're giving me a part. I get the part. I'm on the cutting room floor. What could I do for you, Mayor? I said, I want you to get a contract where I'll be able to enjoin anybody doing this. He said, you can't do that. I said, I can. I'm the mayor. Next movie, we had the contract. It was called Angel Blade. They told me it was going to be an exotic thriller. It turns out it's an erotic thriller. And I am in that movie.
And that is the story of how you, lawyer, mayor, and movie star.
Mobster.
Well, everything. A restaurateur.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And I thank you, Oscar, for doing these dinners because I know you put a lot of work into them. I think a lot of people don't realize the preparation you put into it, the amount of gin you have to consume in order to come up with the stories.
Well, it's amazing because that's why I'm smarter than anybody I know, because of the amount of gin that I drink. And my brain cells are huge. And in order to recall things that took place 40 years ago with, clarity, I have to drink a lot of gin.
Yes, you do, and you sure do it well. And we appreciate it because it gives us a great chance to have people that appreciate history and Oscars and you come to the property and experience it firsthand. So thank you.
You're welcome, and all I can tell the listeners is that when they come here for the dinner series, at least they'll run into Las Vegas's finest. The folks from the community who come here from actually all over the world. We've had visitors from all over the world attend those talks. Yep. And there's a real camaraderie. There's a real spirit of unity, and I love it. I mean, I wish I had the energy to do it every night, but I love it.
And the one next week is sold out, but we will be doing another one on June the 9th and hopefully July 28th.
Which is 2 days after my birthday. But it's a great thing. Even a broken clock has the right time twice a day.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for joining us, Oscar. We can't wait for the next dinner series, and we always look forward to speaking with you.
And Lisa, I always love seeing your smile.
We'll be back again soon, but in the meantime, please rate, review, and subscribe. Tell your friends about On the Corner of Main Street, and of course, follow us on social. On Twitter and Instagram, it's @PlazaPod, and on Facebook, find us @Plaza Podcast. Or go right to the top and tweet Jonathan @JonathanJossel. We'll see you next time from right here on the corner of Main Street.